The only controls available to those on board were two push buttons on the center post of the cabin, one labeled on and one labeled off. The on button simply started a flight from Mars. The off button was connected to nothing. It was installed at the insistence of Martian mental health experts who said that human beings were always happier with machinery they thought they could turn off. The legend was this. Once upon a time on Tralfamadore, there were creatures who weren't anything like machines. They weren't dependable. They weren't efficient. They weren't predictable. They weren't durable. And these poor creatures were obsessed by the idea that everything that existed had to have a purpose, and that some purposes were higher than others. These creatures spent most of their time trying to find out what their purpose was. And every time they found out what seemed to be a purpose of themselves, the purpose seemed so low that the creatures were filled with disgust and shame. And, rather than serve such a low purpose, the creatures would make a machine to serve it. This left the creatures free to serve higher purposes. But whenever they found a higher purpose, the purpose still wasn't high enough. So machines were made to serve higher purposes too. And the machines did everything so expertly that they were finally given the job of finding out what the highest purpose of the creatures could be. The machines reported, in all honesty, that the creatures couldn't really be said to have any purpose at all. The creatures thereupon began slaying each other, because they hated purposeless things above all else. And they discovered that they weren't very good at slaying. So they turned that job over to the machines too. And the machines finished up the job in less time than it takes to say, Tralfamadore.
You go up to a man and you say, "How are things going, Joe?" And he says, "Oh, fine, fine, couldn't be better." And you look into his eyes and you see things really couldn't be much worse. When you get right down to it, everybody's having a perfectly lousy time of it. And I mean everybody. And the hell of it is, nothing seems to help much.
Of the cage and the trash in the gutter and the people coming out of the clinic. It gets worse every minute. It gets worse every second. My lovely city, my lovely danger, my lovely stranger, and the tooth for the bone, and the rat for the apple, and the knife for the throne, and the crib for the rattle, and the bars of the cage, and the trash in the gutter, and the people coming out of the clinic. It gets worse every minute. It gets worse every second you're in it. It gets worse every minute. Gets worse every second.
It took us that long to realize that a purpose of human life, no matter who is controlling it, is to love whoever is around to be loved.
Invader. I've got essays, I've got finals due. I have got lots and lots of problems. as much fun as you would like while helping others have as much fun as you're having. Be kind to those you love, and be kind to those you don't. But for God's sake, you've got to be kind and respectful, because we're all one soul. Be the best human that you can be.